They were chillin', illin', and just plain thrillin', and they broke all the rules to make the deafest sound of '86. Run-DMC's third album, Raising Hell, was the first rap album to go platinum, and they walked this way to the first rap and rock crossover.
No, just... Back in the days, we used to always use rock guitars in our records, use records with rock guitars, rock groups like Billy Squier, Aerosmith, Toys and Addict.
So the self-proclaimed kings of rock hooked up with Aerosmith's Steve Tyler and Joe Perry, and the meeting of the minds was captured on one of the year's hippest videos.
They're making a lot of noise over there, and we was trying to tell them to shut up, keep it down so we can do our job, so we can start practicing.
And they still beefing, He gets so mad he crashed a hole through the wall, puts his head through there. We was gonna put his head out, but we just watched him do his thing, though.
I was gonna take our machine gun out and shoot through the wall, but my manager wouldn't have liked that, so.
Too much.
With the album in the stores and the video on the air, it was time to hit the arenas. But the sold-out Raising Hell tour was surrounded by violence. And while they didn't encourage it, Run-DMC found themselves being blamed for it. Incidents across the country reached their climax in Long Beach, California, where 44 people were injured in a gang war, and the group decided to cancel their next show in L.A.
We sold out Madison Square Garden, nothing like this happened. We don't have street gangs where we come from. L.A. has a problem with street gangs.
L.A. had a problem yesterday. They had a problem the day before yesterday. They're gonna have it tomorrow
and the next day.
Until they get it together.
So the guys went on the radio with Barry White to help L.A. kids get it together.
We got alternatives for the kids. We tell them that, you can go play ball, you can do your homework, go to school. There's a lot of other things you can do besides taking drugs and joining gangs.
Yeah, like making movies. While they preach nonviolence, Run-DMC spent much of the year bragging about how violent their tougher-than-leather movie is going to be.
It's going to be action-packed like Rambo, 48 Hours, or Commando, or The Terminator, or Apocalypse Now.
People are going to get hurt.
The movie's going to be out in '87, and so is Run-DMC's anti-crack record with Michael Jackson. For three guys from Hollis, Queens, it'll be another in-your-face year of rap, rock, and roll.
Be there or be square.
Word.
We're in New York's Alphabet City, where many of these disheveled facades are actually storefronts for crack. Now, 1986 was the year when rock and roll changed its attitude towards drugs. Back in the 60s, drugs were glorified in rock as part of the creative process. But today, drug is a four-letter word among rock stars, many of them preaching what they learned the hard way.
Crack. It's killing our kids. It's killing these 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds. It's killing their minds. It's stopping them from going forward. That's our future. I think it's important that we get down on this crap.
1986 was the year the music industry got down on drugs. But it hasn't always been this way. For years, rock and roll music was accused of romanticizing drug use.
Driving that train, high on cocaine.
Crack came out of nowhere in '86 and overnight became the newest and deadliest way for young people to feed their heads. The crack-related death of college basketball star Len Bias alarmed the country and many artists as well.
Don't buy it, don't try it, don't touch it, don't take it, get with it, hop to it, yeah, don't do it.
The media made fighting crack a year-long crusade, but the onstage anti-crack campaign took a while to get started. The Nancy Reagan-sponsored Concert That Counts never got off the ground.
Just say no.
It took promoter Bill Graham to pull off a major show. Crosby, Stills and Nash, Santana, the Allman Brothers, and headliners Run-DMC spread the word on Halloween night that crack is whack.
Run-DMC came to this crack concert for one reason, because we don't like the crack, you know what I'm saying?
It is frightening what's happening in New York City. When you can buy one of these at a newsstand, and it says, "I love New York" on the side, do you think we have a problem?
As drug awareness grew, artists came out of the closet about their drug use. John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas wrote Papa John, which chronicled his life as a cocaine addict.
Drugs have a funny way of turning your priorities around and turning the things that really matter to you around. I mean, I was willing to, beg, borrow, steal, mostly steal if I could, to keep it going.
Move away from the
hard drug stories were not relegated to the stars of the 60s. In June, the music industry was shocked by revelations that the charming and seemingly innocent Boy George was addicted to heroin. Headlines screamed out the sordid story all summer as George was arrested for possession and his brother Kevin was charged with supplying him. A war of words ensued when Kevin accused George's longtime friend Marilyn of getting the boy hooked.
Marilyn introduced my brother to drugs. And I don't care who I tell that to.
You can't tell someone to take drugs. You can't make anyone do anything, you know what I mean? It's like, so ridiculous. It makes me look like an idiot.
Boy George was later sued by the parents of Michael Rudetsky, a New York musician who died of a drug overdose in George's London home. Stateside, MTV joined hands with Rock Against Drugs and some major stars for a campaign that'll last well into '87. RAD hopes to raise awareness and maybe scare a few people.
Drugs make me cool. You believe that crap?
You know, I've been playing rock and roll for a lot of years, and I've done it all. Now I do it without drugs. Drugs is not a part of my everyday routine. It's not everyday fun. It's not good for you.
A good friend of mine, Sid Vicious, died from drugs. I nearly died from drugs. Drugs suck.
Oh, excuse me, American Festival Cafe?
That way.
Okay, thanks. Hey, gee, Martha, sorry I'm late.
Time is but the subtle thief of youth, Alan.
What?
You know, we have a lot of work to do. We have to look back in '86, the Amnesty Tour. We have Rock Against Drugs. We have Madonna keeping her baby and whatever else went on.
Okay, Martha, let's get down to brainstorming this banner 1986.
All right, well, we have the Dylan...
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I couldn't help but overhear your somewhat naive conversation. I must admit, 1986 was a depressing year for many of us. You see, fate has always conspired with destiny to do me dirt. Each time I cough, I spit out another tooth. Each time I shave, I need a blood transfusion. You see, my trouble is I see too deep. I see too much. I have gazed into the abyss, and the abyss has gazed into me. And neither of us liked what we saw.
Pardon me, I don't mind a butt in, sir, but don't you think anything good happened in 1986?
Well, the ZZ Top Tour was rather bitchy.
Unlike past years, no one tour dominated 1986. Instead, a series of major artists went out on the road. The biggest winners were ZZ Top, who used Egyptian technology to earn $10 million in June, July, and August. Van Halen packed them in too, earning $9.5 million on their summer tour. Obviously, fans didn't take long to accept the new Hagerized Halen.
30 seconds into the first song, I got hit with about 20 big giant banners rolled up. So I start unrolling them, looking at them, David Lee Who, you know, some other rude statements, and it really, you know, I can honestly say it encouraged me.
David Lee Roth found plenty of encouragement on his Eat 'Em and Smile tour. At 5 months and counting, it was definitely one of the year's longest and craziest, and it was sort of a multi-leveled performance, too.
Come listening for the Guitar Hero? We have that. You come looking for dancing feet? We have that. You want Dave close to you? Yes, we have that.
But that's not all. Van Halen and David Lee Roth battled it out on the charts and in the press with a no-holds-barred media feud.
Well, of course the Van Halens are gonna be angry at me, you know, because It's a big divorce, man. It's a big divorce. Who came first? Who said the first? You said this about me, and then I said, no, you said it first. It's going to go back and forth, and it reads like wrestling, man. It reads like Hulk Hogan, you know, and it's colorful. And hey, I'll read this stuff. It's colorful. Sammy Hagar, on the other hand, is upset with me because he knows I'm better than he is.
Bob Dylan had Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers backing him up on a much-anticipated world tour. They played 31 cities in America together for almost 1 million fans, Dylan's first trip around the country in 5 years. Bob Seger is another veteran who hit the road again, and Neil Young returned to rock and roll by taking Crazy Horse out on one of the year's Stranger tours.
When you hold off from doing something for a long time, it makes it better when you do it. I mean, it's just the same with everything.
Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer.
The Monkees turned 20 this year, and their U.S. tour was nothing short of a phenomenon. They played almost 200 shows during '86, and one of them made history as long-lost monkey Mike Nesmith rejoined them on stage.
Hey, mercy, woman, there's a song and no one listens. I need help, I'm falling again.
We were very, very pleased to have him here, and it was an incredible thrill. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Incredible thrill.
Rap music took over the national spotlight as Run-DMC headlined the hugely successful Raising Hell tour. It sold out from coast to coast, and the guys discovered new ways to spend all the money they were making.
We made $100,000 in Philly.
$100,000. 33.
Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz.
And this year, you just couldn't keep a good piano man down. Billy Joel crossed the bridge from fatherhood to the stage. Steve Winwood found higher love on his first U.S. tour in 12 years. And Elton John came out of retirement, stunning fans with his energy and his wardrobe.
The audience love it, you know. I come on this stuff and they just go crazy. I get a 5-minute standing ovation for the clothes.
It was the ultimate comeback. All the songs, all the shows, all the guys. Well, almost all the guys. And after 20 years, a whole new generation of screaming fans.
We're not going to milk it and suck it and dry and like, you know, beat everybody over the head with it. But if the enthusiasm is there, then we're game.
The Monkees' Greatest Hits album flirted with the top 20 and contained an appropriately titled new song. All their original albums charted too. Their tour, long and lucrative, was one of the year's noisiest events.
The audiences have been very, very subdued, as you can tell.
A good set of cheekbones never goes out of style. Neither does a great voice. Steve Winwood had both in '66 and again in '86, with his aptly titled comeback album Back in the High Life, and a tour which spanned the songs of a 20-year career.
This is the first tour I've done for about 12 years, and it couldn't be more different. There are so many more people involved in the crew, and it's really a lot easier and a whole lot more enjoyable.
Another veteran of the late '60s, Paul Simon, traveled to South Africa to record with black musicians in Soweto. The result was Graceland, his biggest album in 10 years. While Simon's trip to the land of apartheid violated the UN's cultural boycott, he felt it was justified.
The music that is being made in South Africa is wonderful, and it should be heard, and it shouldn't be boycotted. There shouldn't be a double apartheid happening here.
Alice is back with a vengeance. Alice has been pent up for 4 years now, and I haven't really let him out for 4 years. That's sort of like not having sex for 4 years.
And that's no fun. So Alice Cooper returned to put the splatter back into shock rock. His fall tour packed him in at every gruesome stop. A camera-shy Boston sold 3 million copies of Third Stage, their first album in 8 years. The Human League hired super producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis to make Human, their first #1 song since 1982. And Eddie Money hit the top 10 for the first time ever with a little help from 60s singer Ronnie Spector. Keith Richards was part of another kind of comeback trend, artists re-recording their own songs. He did a new version of Jumpin' Jack Flash with Aretha Franklin instead of Mick Jagger. Chicago remodeled 25 or 6 to 4, and the Police gave us a greatest hits album with a new version of Don't Stand So Close to Me.
We felt that the third album was the one we were sort of least satisfied with in terms of the production and everything, and this was the one song that I think we felt that we could have possibly done better.
The Beatles' 22-year-old Twist and Shout was a hit in 2 movies as well as on the Billboard charts. Doctor and the Medics recreated the psychedelia of Spirit in the Sky, and Bananarama went all the way to #1 with Venus, a cosmic chestnut from the dawn of the 70s.
There's nothing wrong with doing a cover version if you can sort of update it and improve it, I like to think.
After selling 20 million records worldwide in just 3 years, Wham called it quits this June in front of 80,000 people, just like they planned it.
We'd always known that there was you know, a definite limit on the group's lifespan. Our goal was very much to do what we've done, and we've done it, and to keep on going would have made it seem very much a business venture.
For the rest of the year, Andrew Ridgeley drove racing cars, pursued acting roles, and got engaged, while George Michael found another partner and started work on a much-anticipated solo album. Prince broke up the revolution in October, seeking a new musical combination for a new stripped-down sound. Wendy Melvoin and Lisa Coleman formed a group of their own, and drummer Bobby Z will produce other artists. His replacement is rumored to be Sheila E. Duran Duran also shrank a bit in '86. The Notorious Ones now number only 3 as guitarist Andy Taylor released 2 solo singles and worked on his album. It was during the sessions for their own album that Simon, Nick, and John saw the split coming.
It was so screamingly obvious that it was not happening. You know, we said, well, you know, there's no point in trying to force this issue because we had nothing in common, either musically or mentally.
The Cars' Ben Orr was one artist who went solo without leaving his band. Ditto bandmate Rick Ocasek, who said his Emotion in Motion could have just as easily been a Cars song.
I don't specifically write songs for the Cars or myself and handpick. Whatever I have at the moment that I have written, you know, I use.
And Daryl Hall released 3 Hearts in the Happy Ending Machine while declaring there's no ending for the hit-making machine he's got with John Oates.
John and I have been banging around for years and years, and the only way to keep things going is by trying new things.
After 18 years with Chicago, Peter Cetera broke rank and hit #1 twice. The band survived without him, but they haven't yet reached their previous height. And then there was the split that never happened. Yes, the Rolling Stones did release a new album in '86, and they actually got together for a couple of videos and a special Grammy Award in London. But a much-talked-about tour remained just that, much talked about.
You planning to tour?
I hope so. Let's put it like that. I really can't give a definitive answer to that, but I'm working on it. Yeah, I think we must go out and tour.
No, we don't have any tour plans at the moment.
Most of us do. It's just a matter of convincing the others, or the other, whether they want to tour or not.
Each Stone rolled alone in '86. Keith Richards produced Aretha Franklin, negotiated a solo album deal, and performed at Chuck Berry's 60th birthday party.
Go, Keith, go, blow!
Charlie Watts took a big band on tour around the States, played with Rod Stewart and the Faces, and may tour with them next year. As for Mick Jagger, the Stones' last video may well sum up his feelings. So he started work on solo album #2.
Wants no more political imprisonment, no more torture, and no more executions anywhere in the world.
The Amnesty International Conspiracy of Hope Tour was undoubtedly the humanitarian event of the year, The 6-city sweep across America in June raised $2.5 million, helped recruit 40,000 new members, contributed to the release of 2 prisoners, and raised awareness of Amnesty's battle for prisoners of conscience around the world.
It's a cause for individuals that are in human pain and that are being inflicted by another human being, and that's not right.
The thing I like about it is it's not political. That is to say, it's not on the left, it's not on the right, it's not for the East, it's not for the West, it's just for human rights.
But it was also the musical event of the year. U2 and Amnesty director Jack Healy recruited an all-star lineup that performed with an almost religious fervor. Together, the artists forged a unique camaraderie, touring the country caravan style, picking up special guests along the way.
The tour itself was the best tour I've ever been on. The spirit of friendship backstage and jamming with each other that I haven't seen existing elsewhere. And I think when you go up and you meet some of these people who've been inside and suffered torture, the whole thing takes on a different meaning and a different urgency.
And the tour wasn't the end. Amnesty says interest and membership continues to grow. By year's end, the organization released a compilation album and began planning another major event for March '87. If the Amnesty Tour was the rock event of the year, Hands Across America was the media event of the year. USA for Africa chief Ken Cragen linked hands from coast to coast and raised over $24 million to help America's 33 million hungry and homeless people.
Will you please welcome the world to this Sport Aid event?
On the same day, Sport Aid, with help from Bob Geldof, linked the world in a run for Ethiopia.
Ain't that America, home of the free, yeah.
Farm Aid 2, held on the 4th of July, was somewhat less successful than last year's merger of Rock and Country. It raised only $1.3 million.
Ain't that tough enough?
The 18-hour event did draw 75 artists, among them the Fabulous Thunderbirds, John Cougar Mellencamp, and John Bon Jovi.
When we're asked to do things as often as we are, the one thing that we jump up for is to do things for home.
Rain on the scarecrow.
Benefits close to home were an international trend this year. Self-Aid in Ireland attacked that country's chronic unemployment problem. Phil Collins, Howard Jones, Mark Knopfler, and Paul Young were among the English artists raising money for England's unemployed at the 10th annual Prince's Trust concert. Joni Mitchell, Warren Zevon, and Neil Young performed at a benefit to fight toxic waste dumping in Southern California. In September, Neil and his wife Peggy helped bring Bruce Springsteen, J.D. Souther, Don Henley, and Tom Petty together to raise money for handicapped children in the San Francisco Bay Area. Obviously, rock's social conscience didn't die with Live Aid, as was feared, and it's sure to continue in '87.
If musicians and artists are going to be involved in human rights or causes, then each time we do it, we have to be creative and we have to be innovative, because people get bored, and I think it's our responsibility to make them interested and keep them constantly excited by what's happening.
This was the year when everything went completely crazy as far as the Bangles are concerned.
Just another manic Monday. If the Bangles think they had a crazy year, what about us, trying to sort out a year full of emerging stars?
Tell me why.
Rhythm of the music getting stronger. Don't your body, you gotta do that conga beat.
What is wrong in my life?
After the demise of the Go-Go's last year, Belinda Carlisle bounced back from a bout with drugs and alcohol. She worked out, slimmed down, got married, and released a top 10 record. Is Going Mad About You that easy?
I had no idea that the single would be, go to number 3, and the album is going into the top 10. So, I mean, it was beyond any sort of dream I had. It's exciting, and it makes me want to work again.
The Fabulous Thunderbirds were perfect for a year where everything old turned new again. The Texas T-Birds played clubs for 12 years, but it wasn't until they met producer Dave Edmunds that they made a record tough enough for the top 10.
It has everything in it. It has hillbilly sound in it. It has rock and roll. It has blues. It has R&B. It has Cajun. It's not really any one of those things. It's everything all smashed together,
Simply Red was another group with a mixture of influences, but the dance band from Manchester, England went to number 1 over here with a ballad.
I'll keep
We got some stripped-down soul from England in the form of Birmingham's Fine Young Cannibals. And the outfield was an English group with an American name that played straight-ahead American arena rock. But there was no mistaking the Pet Shop Boys accent. A former pop journalist hooked up with an ex-architecture student to design 3 top 10 hits, including this tribute to London's West End girls.
In a western town, a dead-end world, the East End boys and West End girls.
Actually, I'd love it if someone did a version like of a rap group, a New York rap group, or something like Run-DMC did West End Girls as a, you know, as a black rap record, because the idea was it was like an English rap.
That's just the way it is.
Bruce Hornsby and the Range made a serious point and had a mega hit with The Way It Is. Glass Tiger made it to number 2 here after sweeping the Juno Awards as Canada's top new act. And 1986 was the year we learned how to pronounce Kyrie. Mr. Mister's years of paying dues as session man continued to pay off, but what about the future?
You can't ever really premeditate or predict what's going to happen. Somebody might not like what we play 2 years from now. You know, there's no way of knowing. It's just the timing was right for '86.
Newz. Where does it come from? Where does it go when it ceases to be new? No one really knows, but what we do know is that news is universal. It affects every aspect of our lives, including rock and roll. Look at who's on the cover of these magazines. Reagan? Gorbachev? LaRouche? No, Madonna, Bruce, Aretha. Let's face it, those political guys can be pretty boring, but that's one thing you can't say about rock stars.
I think that after 25 years of service from a community, that there is a debt owed to the 3M workers and to my hometown.
Despite a year of little activity, the boss loomed large. He performed at 2 benefits, first to raise money for workers laid off by a New Jersey 3M plant, and later at the Bridge School benefit for handicapped children. But on November 10th, the ultimate rock and roller gave us the ultimate live album. The release of Bruce's 5-record set was the event of the year at record stores. It entered the charts at number 1 and went double platinum within days. And fans who waited online to buy it said all the anticipation was worth it.
It's finally here. Couldn't wait.
I think he's giving us the best material he's done so far.
This was the year Bob Geldof put fundraising aside, but last year's Band Aid Saint continued to make news. Within 12 months, Geldof got married, wrote his life story, helped Sport Aid happen, received honorary knighthood from Queen Elizabeth, broke up the Boomtown Rats, and made his first solo album.
Between what I have to do, which is Band Aid, and what I want to do, which is music, there is a point where they can coexist, and that point is at the moment.
In 1986, the biggest star of all time was also the biggest eccentric of all time. First, Michael was seen around New York in a surgical mask. Then news came out that Michael was sleeping in an oxygen tank so he could live to be 150.
He wants to take it on a road. How am I going to take this on a road if we do a tour? I mean, how many guys am I going to get to lift this thing? I don't know. I can't figure them out sometimes.
So figure this. On May 6th, Pepsi-Cola announced they'd signed Michael to the sweetest endorsement deal ever. He'll get $17 million for making 3 commercials. And here's all he had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Enrico and Pepsi Associates. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
In September, he released his 3D movie, Captain EO, the most expensive 17 minutes of film ever produced. It was only seen in Disneyland and Disney World. At year's end, Michael was completing the Thriller follow-up and shooting the album's first video with director Martin Scorsese. Behind the scenes, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were this year's super hit makers, writing and producing #1 hits for Janet Jackson and the Human League, and writing Robert Palmer's top 5 I Didn't Mean to Turn You On. Their philosophy is simple.
We as producers never try to overshadow the artist. It's not our album. We always feel like when we get done with the album, we're on to another project, but the artist has to live with those songs forever.
A lot of rock stars try to act, and a lot of actors try to be rock stars. But how many actors turned rock stars can sell 1 million albums worldwide?
That's what happens when you know what you're doing.
Rock and roll gave itself the ultimate stroke in January when 10 musical pioneers were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. 2 generations of stars got together for a once-in-a-lifetime jam after the ceremony. The hall will open next year in Cleveland.
The greatest music in the world. It's been the biggest music in the world. And what would you have without rock and roll?
One man who'd like to find out is Jerry Lee's cousin, TV evangelist Jimmy Swaggart. A brother in spirit to Tipper Gore and the PMRC, he spearheaded a campaign to have rock magazines removed from drugstore and supermarket shelves. Several major chains took him up on it, while Swaggart was fought by publishers and artists alike.
There is nothing more important than the flow of information. You may not want to read everything you read, you may not want to hear it, you have the choice not to.
Mr. Swaggart, if there is a heaven and a hell, and if we all die and go before the final judgment, I think you're in for a big surprise.
Like last year, music and movies were a potent combination in '86, and they came together best in Top Gun. The year's top-grossing film, it also spawned a #1 soundtrack and top 5 singles from Kenny Loggins and Berlin, who, ironically, disapproved of the movie's content.
Its biggest failing for me is that it's pro-war. And rah-rah, you know, macho, let's go out and kill. Who cares what it is? If it's the enemy, let's destroy it. And I disagree with it.
Top Gun's Tom Cruise was the year's hot property, playing another go-for-it hero in The Color of Money and winding up with a star on Hollywood Boulevard. Molly Ringwald made Pretty in Pink top box office, and in turn, the Pretty in Pink soundtrack went top 5. It gave OMD a breakthrough hit with If You Leave, and gave a commercial outlet to cult bands like The Smiths and Echo and the Bunnymen.
It's a really good soundtrack, though. You know, a lot of different bands that aren't usually used on movie soundtracks. Usually movies, you know, film soundtracks are so boring, you know, that all the, you know, the top 40 bands and stuff.
We heard all kinds of music in Something Wild, the movie from Stop Making Sense director Jonathan Demme. Part comedy, part thriller, part love story, its screwball characters inspired a soundtrack full of surprises. David Bowie was one of 2 human characters in the fantasy labyrinth, and he also joined the Kinks' Ray Davies and Sade in the cast of Absolute Beginner.
Here's a nightmare that will never end.
Neither film fared well at the box office, but Bowie was not alone in movie misery. Madonna suffered her first commercial setback with Shanghai Surprise, playing a missionary opposite husband Sean Penn. The film, with music by former Beatle George Harrison, got bad reviews and disappeared fast. Everybody expected Prince's Under the Cherry Moon to be every bit as big as its predecessor, Purple Rain. But sometimes everybody's wrong. Prince's directing debut bit the dust, earning just $10 million after Purple Rain took home nearly $70 million. A French movie, Round Midnight, starring Dexter Gordon and Herbie Hancock as expatriate jazzmen, was just one of the music-oriented movies at this year's New York Film Festival. Tom Waits played a DJ in Down by Law, which co-starred Lounge Lizard saxophone player John Lurie and a newcomer from Italy named Roberto Benigni. And finally, there was Sid and Nancy, the true love story of Sex Pistols Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. But one of the real Sex Pistols gave the thumbs down to punk rock's Romeo and Juliet.
His innocence was corrupted. And to try to make a film about that is definitely disgusting. Leave Sid alone.
Check out Mr. Businessman on the road. He bought some wild, wild life.
David Byrne's True Stories had its premiere at the New York Film Festival, and one of rock's most creative band leaders proved he is also one of Filmland's most creative directors. Byrne's fans flocked to see the movie, though not every critic was convinced.
I've gotten a lot of really good reviews on the film, and some bad ones too. Some really bad ones as well. So it's kind of, you know, one review kind of knocks you down, and the next one kind of pulls you back up again, and you end up kind of back where you started, which is okay.
This hyper-realistic fantasy of life in the mythical town of Virgil, Texas raised some eyebrows, and it raised some questions too, like...
David, whatever would make you do that movie?
I had all these visual ideas and characters and things that I'd been saving up. And I thought, well, let's put them all together, and there we go.
Dave, what was it like to act in it?
It wasn't really like acting. It was more like giving funny readings of my lines. Excuse me, Mr. Culver. I forgot what these peppers represent. I never had to break down and cry, or I never had to punch anybody.
Were you making fun of the people in Texas?
A lot of them seemed kind of nutty, but none of them seemed like fools. They were what they were, and they weren't going to try to be anything that they weren't. So that seemed like a kind of noble thing.
Where do you get all them crazy ideas?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know where the crazy ideas come from. Those crazy ideas. I don't dream them. I don't know where this stuff comes from. Maybe it doesn't come from me. Maybe it's just looking around and making a note of what other people are doing.
Those crazy ideas. They've surfaced on Talking Heads albums for 9 years now, but no Heads record ever sold as fast and furiously as True Stories, the band's versions of songs from the film.
It doesn't sound to us like a really slick studio product. It sounds like almost like a live recording of a band in a small club.
The film inspired a soundtrack album and a True Stories book. But there were other stories from the Talking Heads this year. Burns' music went on tour in 2 theater pieces, Civil Wars and the Knee Plays, and he wrote and performed the opening theme to Jonathan Demme's Something Wild. Movies, albums, plays, books. Burns' unique mastery of the media even landed him on the cover of Time magazine.
I called up my parents to see what their reaction was. My dad's reaction was, you know, that's the kiss of death. And I tried to explain to him, no, that's only for sports figures.
Opera. You gotta love it. You don't have to listen to it, but you gotta love it. You know, from opera we get the word diva. I think it's Italian or something, and translated it means goddess. Now, diva is a word applied only to the best of the best, the superstars, la creme de la creme. 1986 was a good year for divas, especially that one right over there. And there were a few others that were a bit less copper and stone and a little bit more flesh and blood.
Diva, diva, diva. People say, you are a diva, you know. Oh, fine. It's a lot of work.
Ladies. Female singers have always had a strong presence in music, but you gotta have something special to be a diva. A voice, an image, a style. Divas were bigger than ever in '86, and 4 of them topped the Billboard chart this year. Whitney Houston's been a phenom since her debut album was released in '85, but she reached a new level of deity this year, winning an MTV Video Music Award, an American Music Award, and a Grammy.
What could freak you out is thinking that you're not normal. That you're not a human being, like you're some superhuman thing from another planet.
Or maybe Newark, New Jersey. She got the key to her home city at a special ceremony this summer. Whitney says she owes a lot of her success to divas past.
It's fabulous that she's been influenced by me.
But Aretha was very much a diva present in '86, with 2 albums on the charts. Patti LaBelle is another veteran who is very contemporary this year. After a quarter-century of great singing, Patti reached #1 with her album, The Winter in You.
I've always been outrageous and crazy and full of energy. And you just have to pull me off the stage.
Patti showed that being a diva requires style as well as a great voice. And a good partner like Michael McDonald helps too. But she's not satisfied yet.
I really want to become that superstar. And I know that I haven't gotten there yet, but I know I'm going to get there.
I never started doing this to get rich or to, be a superstar, because chances are, I figured 9 out of 10 people don't make it.
Cindy emphasized her singing in '86, though her dressing style was no less unusual. And she followed up her True Colors album with her first big production tour.
I had a lot inside of me that I wanted to express. Don't you think it's about time I moved out of here and got my own place?
She's a different kind of diva. She doesn't wear sequins, and she doesn't sing a lot of slow stuff. But Janet was the Jackson in control of the charts in '86. She hooked up with producers Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis for 2 #1 singles and an album that sold 3 million copies. And her image? Call it mature. Out front.
I can learn to like this.
Aggressive.
My first name ain't baby, it's Janet. Miss Jackson and nasty.
Whatever it is, it worked.
This album is so different from anything anyone in my family has ever done. And I didn't realize how much that I had changed until I had completed the entire project and listened to it back.
And then there's media diva Grace Jones. The ultimate image artist released a Nile Rodgers-produced album, co-directed her own video, and clued us in on the diva's real relationship to her fans.
People see me larger than life. It's almost like they worship me in a way. You know, it's when I have concerts, you know, they're like bowing. I've seen people bowing.
It was a fun year for video, and no one had more of it than Godley and Cream, whose stutter style of editing gave us one of the year's more distinctive clips. Lou Reed, The Police, and Huey Lewis and the News also got the Godley and Cream treatment. Hip's the word for Steven Johnson. He's the video mind behind Pee-wee's Playhouse and the man who changed Peter Gabriel's image in Sledgehammer.
The dawn of my consciousness took place in front of a television set.
Hi, I'm Matt Forrest. I make videos. I used to be a plumber, but now I make videos.
Video director Matt Forrest emerged this year, animating Grace Jones and teaming up with the Art of Noise on Paranoia, which featured none other than Max Headroom.
Am I dreaming?
Matt must have had dreaming in mind when he hooked up with Daryl Hall.
I want the visuals to reflect the mood of the album, which was a very spontaneous, very personal, not in your face kind of thing. You know, I've been doing videos for years where you see my face, you know, he's a man-eater and all this kind of stuff. And enough of that. I'm sick of that crap.
Zbigniew Rybczynski kept busy creating a new edit-while-you-shoot style with Simple Minds.
This guy works totally with numbers and almost sort of geometric patterns. It's pretty magic.
Zbig perfected it with the Pet Shop Boys and Missing Persons and returned to his old surrealistic tricks with Lou Reed.
Watch out.
Robert Palmer chose 86 to turn us on to a fetching backup group in 2 videos.
The idea of a bunch of guys singing Addicted to Love was a bit too butch for me. And so when he suggested that we use sort of mannequins, you know, with no expression, I thought it added the right amount of farce to it.
With Steve Winwood's Higher Love and Duran Duran's Notorious, Peter Kagan and Paula Greif shot into the upper echelon of video directors. They combined video, film, and a fashion background to create the year's most stylish look, but their inspiration came from home movies, a long way from high fashion.
I think we just try to make intimate movies. It's about intimacy, and even the way that we work, I mean, it's much more about having a party in a way and shooting it the way if you're with your friends and you're having a wild time.
In 86, videos brought to life David Byrne's lighter side, while cartoon clips made a serious impression. Diamond Dave reintroduced us to the fabulous Picasso brothers.
That's right, the party's back!
And ZZ Top and the Bangles taught us all how to walk like Egyptians.
Walk like an Egyptian.
Genesis saved face, sort of, with the help of Spitting Image and a few of their closer friends in what was an explosive year for video.
That's one heck of a nurse.
Hard Rock 86 belonged to Bon Jovi.
If I could bottle it, I would sell it.
With lyrics that spurned Satanism and ultraviolence, they proved to be the nice guys of heavy metal. Just don't call them squeaky clean. Their Slippery When Wet album nearly slipped out with this cover.
The PMRC went, eh.
But when it was released with this tamer graphic, it went to #1 anyway.
The album went to #1 because you called up and requested the video, and you went out and bought the record, and you called up your local radio station and bugged the hell out of them. Yeah. And we thank you.
John Bon Jovi did his share for metal's future, too, discovering Cinderella in a Philadelphia bar. The big-haired foursome released Night Songs, a debut album that went gold in just 9 weeks, and they toured the country with David Lee Roth.
Wow, is this really happening?
Musically speaking, Cinderella was the first of a new wave of bands to raise a banner for the classic hard rock of the much-maligned 70s.
I think there's like a big swing back to that older sound, like the 70s. Kind of hard rock sound as opposed to heavy metal, which I think we're more like that.
But there was another new sound young America tuned into this year. Speed metal emerged as a hard rock force to be wrestled with.
It's fast,
It's powerful, it's distorted, it's obnoxious metal. That's all I listen to.
Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth all made major label debuts. Their stripped-down, sped-up thrash reviving metal's rebel spirit. Metallica, the pioneers of this new breed, showed just how strong it could be.
Let's go out, bash away, have some fun.
Master of Puppets went gold with virtually no radio airplay.
We're sort of like one step, we're like furthest out in like left field pretty much from the middle of any of the sort of bigger heavy metal bands today. You know, sort of as unsafe as you can get. and we get away with it.
But Metallica couldn't get away from tragedy this fall when bassist Cliff Burton was killed in a bus accident in Sweden. Another sound out of the metal underground is Stryper.
We rock and roll, but we're Christian guys.
These Christian rockers throw Bibles into the audience, and they threw 3 albums on the charts this year, all told selling 800,000 records.
We rock for a different cause, for a different purpose. You know, we do not sing about drugs, sex out of marriage, bondage, S&M, murder, death, Satan. We're against all that. We sing about life, we sing about good things, about Jesus Christ.
From Jesus Christ to the ultimate sinner, Ozzy Osbourne was one 85 anti-hero who stayed on top in 86. He appeared as a preacher in his first movie, Trick or Treat, and his Ultimate Sin album went platinum, inspiring one of the year's ultimate tours.
It's a fabulous show.
But Ozzy's tour also inspired violence as fans trashed the arena at a New Jersey Meadowlands gig in March. Far from being sorry about it, Ozzy exulted over the cost of the damage.
$80,000 worth. Rock and roll!
Do you have to pay for that?
Yeah! So what, man? Rock and roll is here to stay and you ain't gonna stop it, man.
Concert violence was an issue for metal bands and fans in '86, causing insurance rates and ticket prices to go up. But for Motley Crue, there was no violence, just a year of transition.
From married to the Slammer.
Drummer Tommy Lee married Dynasty's Heather Locklear in Santa Barbara, and Vince Neil briefly went to jail for his role in the 1984 drunk driving death of Hanoi Rocks drummer Razzle. His view of the year?
Low point was going to jail. The high point was getting out.
This was the year we talked about the new Madonna. The new look, the new album, the new attitude. Madonna tossed out the lace, the rosaries, and all the rubber jewelry and remade herself in an image of classic Hollywood glamour.
Now she thinks she's Marilyn Monroe or something.
She's wearing less makeup, and she is a very, very pretty woman.
Why do I think she changed? For money. Why else?
Fittingly, Madonna revealed her new look at the Hollywood premiere of husband Sean Penn's movie At Close Range. The film was a flop at the box office, but it gave Madonna her first '86 hit, Live to Tell.
If I live to tell the secret, I knew then, will I ever have the chance again?
It was just one of 3 top 10 singles off True Blue, Madonna's triple platinum 3rd album. With Papa Don't Preach, her #1 song about teenage pregnancy, Madonna touched nerves as only she can, and the media jumped all over it.
It celebrates life. It celebrates a teenager making a difficult decision. You want to have a baby or you get pregnant, you have to think of all the expense. Love is not everything.
Madonna's always been really good, I think, for women's rights. I think she's always said that we can do whatever we want to do, and if we want to go out and have a child, well, let's have our parents' blessing.
The song inspired parodies, answer records, and even a lawsuit. Meanwhile, Madonna's movie career suffered a broken step with Shanghai Surprise. Filming was punctuated with reports of Sean punching out photographers and the couple battling it out with each other. Once it was released, it did bad business and got even worse reviews.
Wait. I'm sorry.
And so are her fans. But that didn't stop the Material Woman. In September, she was honored at MTV's Video Music Awards.
I don't know where I am. Is this New York?
And she stayed in New York to make another movie, a comedy called Slammer.
The trend of the year, it's got to be that day they played all those Madonna videos.
Go ahead. Make my video. I dare you. Come on.
When MTV and Madonna asked you to make her True Blue video, you knew it would be a contest like you'd never seen before.
True Blue, baby, I love
winners, from nearly 1,000 contestants, were Cliff Guest and Angel Gracia. Madonna paid a royal visit to our studio and gave them a check and a proposition.
You think you could make my next video for under $1,000? I mean, because if you can, we have some things to talk about.
But Cliff and Angel didn't make Madonna's next video. Jean-Baptiste Mondino did. And they didn't take those in-the-nude pictures that Penthouse planned to publish as the year ended. It wasn't all controversy this year for Madonna. She got involved in a couple of high-profile charities by modeling at an AIDS fashion benefit and appearing on one stop of the Amnesty International tour.
We are all free citizens, and it is our responsibility to share that freedom with the rest of the world.
On stage, screen, and stereo, Madonna proved it time and again in '86. She's the biggest star we've got, and her fans love her for it.
I love you too.
Well, so all in all, I think it was a pretty doggone eventful year. Gee, I wonder what '87 has up its sleeve, Martha.
Unborn tomorrow and dead yesterday. Why fret about them if today be sweet?
Right, Martha. I think I'm going to go enjoy the rest of this sweet day myself.
All right, Al. Hey, Happy New Year, all right?
Hey, same to you, Martha, and to you, kind stranger.
This is a unique opportunity to ask.
Hey, Al? Al? Have a check. Have a check. No, it's really okay.